Nation.
SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first. Then you act.
Welcome back, Spartan Nation. We now bring in Matt Hladek from thespun.com. We're doing the Spun's top 25 college football preview. He's going to do the whole hour today. We now come to number 17 in their top 25. It's the first controversial pick of the Big Ten. I think it's the most controversial of the two that are controversial. I think a team that's going to lose at least 4 games, if not more. I think a team that's going to finish at least 4th in the Big Ten East. So I need some explaining about number 17, the Fighting James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Matt.
Sure, I know it's definitely me taking a bit of a risk here, going out on a limb. I'm banking on some of the young talent that they've accrued there at Penn State offensively the past couple of years, taking a step up. Sean Clifford's obviously the key, how he performs at quarterback. They have some linemen back. They have talent at running back, Jerry Brown, Ricky Slade, but it's unproven talent. They have some talent at receiver, but other than KJ Hamler, it's unproven talent. Pat Frymer, the tight end, could be a breakout star, but again, he hasn't been the focal point of an offense yet. On defense, this is where they actually should be. Usually they're money makers on offense under Franklin, but defensively they should be better this year. Micah Parsons has, All-American potential. Yetur Gross-Matos has NFL potential. Those guys right there. I do realize, and I didn't want to say this when we were talking about Michigan State because I didn't want to give away my future rankings, but I mentioned how if Michigan State gets some offensive, some semblance of an offense this year, they could be ranked higher than where I had them slotted in the preseason at 20. I think as long as they play well offensively, they could overtake Penn State. It wouldn't surprise me if Penn State is behind Michigan State at some point during the season. But going into the season, I have Penn State 17th.
If I'm right and they finish 4th in the Big Ten East and have another 8-4, 7-5 season, will the Heat finally hit Franklin?
I think it will, and I think that he could point to his roster and say, well, we were young, we'll be better in 2020, and we're kind of building for that. But the Heat will start to mount. It will start to gather. You look at what's happened the past couple of years since that Big Ten title. I do think that the fans are a little bit restless with their performance against some of the other top teams in the Big Ten. So I think another 8-4 season, you would see the Heat start to mount.
Now at number 16, a team that I really like. And I wouldn't be shocked when the season's over if they're higher than this, but I like them as the Fighting Utah Utes.
Sure. I think Utah is a team partially because of where they playing out in the West Coast, and partially because of where they play in the Pac-12. They're not even one of the bigger name programs necessarily. They're a team that gets overlooked, but going back to when Urban Meyer got there, they've been one of the most consistent teams year in and year out. This team is my favorite again in the Pac-12 South to get to the conference title game again. They get Zach Moss back from an injury, 1,000-yard rusher. Tyler Huntley, their quarterback, is healthy, and they know if he goes out, Jason Shelley can fill in admirably as a backup. Britton Covey, if they get him back from his torn ACL, he's a huge weapon at receiver. Defensively, they're loaded. They're really loaded up front. They have 3 of the best one of the best defensive line trios in the country, and they're supported by a bunch of 4 or 5 guys that can easily fill in and make an impact as well. They should win a division again, and I wouldn't be stunned if they win a whole Pac-12 if things break right. The potential is there.
At number 15, you have a team that last year when we did your top 25, I called you out because you didn't have them on there. Now I'm wondering if you have them a little bit higher than they should be because you feel bad about last year, but I can see your point. At 15, a team flying under the radar, UCF and the Fighting Charlie Strong.
Yeah, I mentioned in my first line of this preview UCF is. It was by far my most egregious omission from the top 25 last year. Josh Heupel, they didn't miss a beat under him in his first season. Big key for them this year, obviously Mackenzie Milton going to miss the season with a leg injury. How does Brandon Wimbush take over the reins as grad transfer coming in from Notre Dame? They have a array of skill position talent to utilize, whoever the starter is there, whether it's Wimbush or Darrell Mack Jr. In the second, on defense, Nate Evans is their top returning linebacker. Richie Grant is a stud, 6 interceptions, 109 tackles last season. I think they're the favorites again in the AAC. Do I think 12-0 is reasonable? I don't know if that's going to happen again, but I think they're the favorites in the AAC. A double-digit win season is definitely could be in the cards, and I think you'll learn a lot about them in week 3 because their third game is a non-conference game. It isn't getting a ton of hype compared to some other non-conference matchups, but it's really intriguing, and it's UCF Stanford.
Matt, I'm very angry at you, and I'm going to tell you that because we're very good friends for anybody that doesn't know. I'm going to have to call you out a little bit because I'm angry. I threw you a softball to take a shot at ESPN when I called them the Fighting Charlie Strongs. Remember last year when they're doing their big talk? They didn't even know Heupel was the coach. They kept saying Charlie Strong.
You know what? I honestly missed that shot. I just kind of rolled right into it, so my apologies. You laid that one up there, softball for me, and so I do owe you one.
Number 14 is a team, no matter what they do, if they don't win the title, every year is a bad year for them and they want to fire their coach, the Auburn Tigers.
This is a team that I thought earlier in the season last year, it looked like they might be capable. I didn't think they would be capable of beating Bama again, but capable of winning 9-10 games again, and they kind of fell apart. 7-5 in the regular season, regained some of their standing by blowing out Purdue in a bowl game. The heat is on Gus Malzahn, without a doubt, to produce. He's been on every hot seat list in the country this year, and his job status has been speculated about since the season ended. He's going to be playing a true freshman at quarterback, either a freshman quarterback, either redshirt freshman Joey Gatewood or a true freshman in Bo Nix. So he's definitely got his work cut out for him there. Defensively, I think the defense is going to have to carry his team at least for a while this year. Cox, Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown along the defensive front. That's a fearsome trio to deal with. They do have some experience in the back end and the secondary. And we talk about pressure on Gus Malzahn. You're going to know right away, I think, how good Auburn is or isn't, because in the first 5 weeks of the season, they play Oregon non-conference, and then they have 2 SEC West games against Texas A&M and Mississippi State. So you'll know right away if they're 5 games into the season and they're 2-3, Malzahn might be in some trouble.
At number 13, you've got a team that I really think is flying under the radar a little bit. I can see why you have them at 13. I don't think you have them overrated, but I could see them higher when the year is over. One of the best coaches in all of college football. I love the Washington Huskies.
I am a big fan of Chris Peterson. I think he's got one of the most consistent programs in the country running over there in Washington. They'll be tested with having replaced Jake Browning and Myles Gaskin, but Jacob Eason was a big-time recruit for a reason when he was at Georgia, and he's one of the most prized transfer acquisitions, so to speak, in the past couple of years. So I'm excited to see what he does out there. Salvon Ahmed is a pretty good replacement for Gaskin, and they have some other guys that can chip in and produce whatever necessary. It all starts for them up front. They have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in the country. And that makes any kind of transition at quarterback or running back or whatever easier when you have those guys up front in the trenches that you can lean on. Defensively is where Peterson's biggest test is really going to be. They have, of their 11 stars last year, 9 are gone. They have to replace a lot of defensive production. But like I said, I'm a believer in Chris Peterson. I'm a believer in what he's done with recruiting and developing guys and getting his team ready. And I think that the divisional race is going to be between Washington State, Oregon, and potentially Stanford.
You're going to have to sell me on your number 12 pick because I don't see him this high at all. The Oregon Ducks.
Sure, I'll tell you what. I'm putting a lot of faith in Justin Herbert, that he has another strong season. He was had a huge year in 2017. Was kind of regarded as potentially a guy who was definitely going to leave school after the 2018 season. And then he slumped a little bit at times, and he'd like to come back. So he's going to have the full reins of that offense, and I think that how he goes is how Oregon's going to go. They have a good, excellent running game. They have a lot of experience on the offensive line. On defense, Kayvon Thibodeau is a guy to watch, 5-star recruit. He was the big coup for Mario Cristobal. We'll see what he has, this season. They are going to be tested again early in the season, Auburn, and then later in the season or throughout the Pac-12 play, they have to go to Stanford, to USC, to Arizona State, and to Washington. So I'm a believer that Mario Cristobal is getting Oregon back to the level it had been at a few years ago. We'll see if I'm a little too high on them or if this is the year.
I saw them in person against Michigan State. I think it's way too high. When we come back, I'm going to give you my surprise team of the next season, and Matt's got them ranked at number 11. We'll be right back.